Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Are you trying to shake loose from blocks in your life? Those could be soul contracts. Did you know that your angels or the angels can help you with that? They know exactly what to do. Hello, I'm Angelscapes. This is Angelscapes, and I'm your host, Nancy Smith. So join me in this episode for a talk about soul contracts and how the angels help clear them. And I will talk to you about the soul contracts, what they are, and how to recognize when they aren't working for you anymore. And the angels can help you recognize limiting beliefs and systems with these soul's contracts blocking your life's progress. Stay tuned and find out how the angels help you clear your soul contracts. So signs that you have pesky soul contracts that is no longer working for you. You're trying really hard at something that doesn't yield results, but you feel compelled to keep trying. Money or lack of money issues are constantly happening in your life, could be the sign of a soul contract in action. Or you keep choosing the wrong friends and partners that don't bring joy into your life. That also could be a belief system, and behind that belief system can be a soul contract. You need to be a people pleaser, and you could be misunderstanding a soul contract about being compassionate, and maybe that needs to be cleared up for you. Relationship struggles can indicate a misaligned soul contract with either a specific person or a belief about yourself. Staying in a job when you're unhappy can be a soul contract. It could be a contract around loyalty. It could be a contract around being a soul provider in your family, and or it could be just I need to suffer, and working and suffering go together. Family relationships are full of soul contracts. And we'll talk about a little bit about some of those family relationships. Choosing a career that you're not crazy about instead of choosing something that you love, you could find soul contract situation embedded in there. And soul contracts are made out of lots of different elements. It can be come up from past lives, where you have experienced, or your soul has experienced, certain issues or traumas in past lives that have not been resolved within the soul, or the soul wants to learn more about them. And sometimes when our soul creates the spirit that's us, that is now, living on the earth plane, the soul will embed a pathway that will maybe mimic the trauma or do a wounding that's similar to what the issue that the soul wants to explore and resolve for itself. And in those contracts, or in those trauma things, are contracts that the soul is trying to sort out. So those contracts can come from past lives in that sense. And we can help the soul move along in learning in the lifetime that we're having now, as the person we are in this moment. Another thing that happens with soul contracts, it could be something that you've picked up from your society or from your family, your ancestors, and a way of being in the world, a way of understanding things, a way of defining the world. And inside of there are, I call them soul level contracts, because they feel like it's a must. I must have this in my life. This is what life means. This is the meaning of life. And when we are thinking of something like that and it's bringing us pain, they would call it a soul level contract, but it's full of belief systems that maybe they're ancestral, not just past lives, that need clearing. Or maybe it was just your family's dharma. Can be a soul contract where your family decides that everyone in this family are always doctors, and you're not a doctor, you're an artist. And so maybe some of that will need to be cleared up on a soul contract level using soul contract protocols from the Akashic records. And so I want to talk a little bit about Akashic records and soul contracts. And the Akashic records is the Akasha is energy, the energy of God, of source, and we all come from source. We all come from God. Souls come from Akasha, soul and source, and Akasha all mixed together really nicely. And our souls create us, our spirit, our essence, and they have pathways for us to follow or things that they want us to achieve. So the Akashic records are within the Akasha realm. Everything that the creator has created since immortal and since inceptions of the creator, which I think is infinity, I can't even think of that, is within the Akashic realm in what's called the Akashic Library, in a series of records. So your soul, which has had many lifetimes, many experiences, and who knows how old your soul is, could be eons and eons, has a records of its own of contracts, agreements, things it wants to achieve, things it's experienced. And within a personal level, in the chakras right above our head, are Akashic records of our life as our soul dreamed our life into being and as we are living it now. So we can go into these Akashic records, which are energetic kind of compartments, and we can read what is in there. We can begin to perceive our lives from another point of view by going into these Akashic records and saying, hey, wait a minute, what was written there? What did I agree to? And so within that organizational principles are what I call, in the Akashic records, are soul contracts. And soul contracts are not necessarily your soul's pathway. They're just agreements. I shouldn't say just, they are agreements that you have made, whether you understood, misunderstood, or have outgrown the thinking around what your soul's purpose is or what your soul is trying to express or learn or be in the lifetime with you as you are. So soul contracts aren't necessarily things you want to hold on to. They're not necessarily things that are all full of wisdom and they are your life's path. A lot of times the soul contracts, we go into them and we explore them, show us where we are not quite making our soul's joy, having a fulfilling life, because they are thought forms and belief systems. And I have seen many contracts where those thought forms and belief systems have been carried through from lifetimes. And we can get into that a little more deeply a little bit, because I feel like I want to get off the path here, because how do you recognize when you have a soul contract? When you're working with something, a belief system or something that isn't quite working, and we do have the right to change them. You do have the right to say, you know what, I paid this contract up full. I don't need to do this anymore. I had a contract I went into when I first started doing soul contracts. I was looking at my work and what I did as a graphic designer. I loved doing my work as a graphic designer. And I was falling into a number of situations at work that were getting in my way of being happy with my job. And I had a difficult struggle with some of the management that I was working under. And in order to understand it, I went into my soul contracts and I started to understand. I started to look, what am I doing? And why is it going wrong? And did I make the wrong choices in my life? And what's going on? And so within my contracts, my hall of contracts, I found graphic designer, I found educator, and because I did educational material, and I also found communicator. And what I saw in a series of past lives, that I had spent many lifetimes at the beginning of many cultures, that, for instance, I saw myself working with the runes and helping to develop the runes and the magical communications around the runes as you carved them into wood or into a stone. And then I saw myself in early Chinese time, learning to work the brush, and then eventually becoming a teacher and learning to work the figures with the brush. This is a form of communication and expression. And so moving forward through the time, I saw myself designing textbooks, for high school and middle grades kids, and I loved doing the work. But as I went into the contract, I found that there were a bunch of little memo notes. We see things symbolically in the Akashic record, little memo notes stapled to my record of being a communicator through visual arts, with somebody else's thought forms of what I should be doing or how I should be doing it. And those memo notes were keeping me from really fulfilling what it is that my soul had been doing throughout eons. And I cleared the contract with the help of the angels, and we set the contract into a place that would be more fulfilling to me and take me to a place that where I really needed to be, where in this lifetime, in terms of communications, was my calling. And putting into that story, I ended up getting laid off, and the publishing industry just, it didn't really fall apart, but it got really, really small, really, really tight, partly because of the internet, partly because books were changing and the concept of books were changing, and partly because of my age, because I was not the young person that they were looking for to be able to bring publishing into the new age or whatever they thought. And there I was. But I moved forward and I started to write. And I never expected to do this, but I actually wrote a couple of books, self-published them, and found some success in there where I started to communicate ideas and thoughts that changed people's thinking. And I became a teacher in the written word. And it was really kind of cool. I completed, I am working in my soul's pathway, but the contract had to be set aside. The contract had to be cleaned up so that I could move forward in my life to do what it was that my soul and my spirit were really wanting to do. So steps for recognizing the soul contracts is looking at the repeating patterns that have negative impacts on you. And one of my repeating patterns was doing the best job that I could possibly do, being the best person that I could do, and being agreeable and working hard, but I wasn't seeing the pathway in front of me. So you got to take responsibility for what you can change and what you can do. So you first all become aware of yourself, see that your actions or repeating patterns are having a negative impact on you. And then the second step is taking responsibility for what you can change and explore what beliefs may be driving you. And then step into, what do you want to experience instead? What would you like to experience instead? For me, it's like, I would really love to design and create something that would really help somebody, and I could see it helping somebody. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know the form that was going to take, but this was my desire. So how the angels come in, and that's really kind of amazing. So recognizing a repeating pattern that has a negative impact on you. Usually that starts with being very uncomfortable and very unhappy. And why am I here? And why am I doing this? And why is this going around and around in a circle without making any headway, making any progress? And the first angel to engage with in that is your guardian angel. Your guardian angel holds your soul's pathway for this lifetime within it. And that's your soul's pathway is also held in the chakras above your head. So energetically, and that pathway is also held within the lower chakras in your root chakra and your sacral chakra, and a little bit in your solar plexus. You can access it. And the point of that is that you will access and do your soul work, whether you are consciously aware of what you are doing or not. So it's kind of a cool little thing. So relax. Breaking a soul contract or clearing up soul contract is not going to take you down the wrong path. It's perfectly fine. So, but stepping into the action of asking your guardian angel to help you sort out what is in front of you, because it looks a little chaotic, is a really positive step to take. And when you take that step, It's about taking a deep breath, relaxing, and observing yourself, not judging yourself, but simply observing what's happening around you. And then the next step of taking responsibility for what you can change, actually, you step into who can help you make the change? What angels can step in and really work with you? What are the protocols that you could take? So it's not about taking responsibility all by yourself and whipping yourself up to a frenzy saying, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this, but I know I have to do it. It's my problem. Is really, let's break down the word responsibility. It's moving into a position of responding, be having the ability to respond to the negative impacts in your life, which means free yourself up from the expectations that you have for yourself and just say, this isn't working. Let's step back and take a look. And that's responsibility. That's the ability to respond. And inviting Metatron in at that point would be wonderful. I also invite in Archangel Michael, and there's another angel, Sandalphon, Sandalphon or Sandalphon. I hear it said many different ways, to help explore what beliefs may be driving you, to help you make that, to help you see it. You can't change it until you can see it. Feel it to heal it is another way of looking at it. And then asking your soul, learning the languages of your soul and using your intuition to say, what would you like to experience differently? So you're in communication with all of these spiritual beings, spiritual parts of yourself, especially the angels, that will help you step into recognizing a soul contract and will help you to clear these soul contracts. So let's talk a little bit about the angels I mentioned. This is my favorite topic. I know I have talked about this topic in previous episodes. So we're going to go a little more deeper into the angels of the soul contracts. So Metatron, awesome angel. Metatron is the overseer of all the Akashic records, your Akashic records, and the Akashic records of all of creation. And Metatron's presence and energy can help you sense where your thoughts are no longer serving you. Metatron is really a lot about the energy of thought. So Metatron really hears God's words, God's source, God is energy, the creator, and hears it and then speaks it out loud to humanity, or speaks it out loud in ways that can be understood. Metatron has Metatron's cube. In sacred geometry, Archangel Metatron it's like the angel of life and oversees the flow of energy in this mystical cube known as Metatron's cube, which contains all of geometric shapes in God's creation and represents the patterns that make up everything God has made. And think of those the cube with the geometric patterns as the patterns of the Akashic realm, the patterns of the Akashic records that holds all of the information that could help you, could help us, could help humanity, help all of the celestial beings understand God's intent. Metatron is part of the tree of life. He's at the head of the tree of life, and Metatron sends create in the Kabbalah, the tree of life, and Metatron sends creative energy down from the crown chakra or down from the crown of the tree of life, the top of the tree of life, and he sends it to all parts of creation. We're, as human beings, we are one part of creation, not the creation. So heads up on that one. You can call on Metatron anytime you need to. He's everywhere, and he or she is everywhere, on all levels and all planes, and is dedicated to the essence of God creation and the intent around God's creation. And you can read about Metatron by Rose Van den Eden, lovely book, Metatron Invoking the Angels of God's Presence. And beautiful prayers in there, beautiful understanding. And when I look at Metatron, when I meditate on Metatron, I meditate on thought and perceptions. And our thoughts precede reality, as they say in metaphysical jargon. And it's true. Our thoughts create reality. but our thoughts aren't necessarily real. So even though our thoughts are creating reality, we're creating an illusion. But if we align our thoughts to source, and when Metatron can help you do that, we are creating in alignment with the creator, with an alignment with nature. And we have a lot of support when we do that. We're not fighting uphill. We're not trying to do something uphill. So in terms of understanding your life and understanding your soul contracts, the first place you go is to your thoughts and align them with source through with Metatron's help. So I mentioned Sandalphon, so many different ways to say this beautiful angel's name. It's known as Metatron's twin. And as Metatron brings God's messages of love and connection to us, Sandalphon hears our prayers and brings them back to source, brings them back to God. To reach our soul's work within our contracts, we must share openly and honestly how we feel and what we perceive, so that the angels know what's going on, and then they know how to work with us. Like I said before, you need to feel it to heal it, as well as sharing ourselves with the angels opens the doorway for them to work more deeply with us. Um, I often hear, especially in the old religions, you can't be angry with God, or you have to be pure and pristine with God, or God doesn't want to hear if you're not, angelic, or you're not. And that's really another illusion that our soul and source wants to know what we're experiencing, wants to know how we are feeling. They're not going to understand hangnails unless we tell them what a hangnail is like, or unless we explain our frustration in the loss of a marriage or a relationship, or we're inside of a marriage that is just we're despairing, or we're in a a job that doesn't pay us enough to live on. And or we're Maslow's law of hierarchies. You tell the angels, tell your soul, I am at the bottom rung of Maslow's law of hierarchies, and we're not going to go too far unless I figure out how to provide myself with basic human needs. So can you help me out with this? What is the soul contract? What is the belief system that's keeping me here at the bottom of this triangle? The angels want to know, they want you to be invited. I think many people have heard, I want to remind you that the angels cannot come into our world unless we invite them. We ask them to help us. And we have a lot of heavy hitters, guys. You can ask whoever, all of them, one of them. I ask all of them lots of times. So in any way, going back to Sandalphon, in Kabbalah, he is the angel who represents I guess Malkuth, but he overlaps sometimes, or is confused with Metatron. How I see it is that Metatron is at the top of the tree, and Sandalphon is at the bottom of the tree, the part of the tree where humanity starts to exist. And Sandalphon is very dedicated with humanity, and anything that expresses itself or prays to God, prays to that higher power. So there's a beautiful connection and a beautiful pathway between these two angels. Um, and they communicate love, and they mirror each other. They're not identical, they actually mirror each other. Sandalphon helps us connect to the wisdom of the universe that is within all of us, not the wisdom of the universe, it's within. So as above, so below, in the microcosms, in the macrocosm, is another metaphysical rule. And Sandalphon really helps us understand this. He helps us to understand what this wisdom is, as well as how to express this wisdom in our lives. And he will guide and aid us in recognizing the truth in each one of our individual lives. And once you understand the truth about your life, he will then help you to clear the contracts that are keeping you in the illusion of what your life is. Maybe you think it should be, or your expectations are just taking you down a rabbit hole. Sandalphon will help you connect to that wisdom and live the truth of that wisdom in dignity, and in fun and fulfillment. And the two of them are very powerful, heavy hitters that can just set you up for really stepping into the truth of who and what you are. And now you're set up. And now you're ready to step out there. What's next? Where do you go from there? Archangel Michael is my hero, is mine and your champion, everyone, for conquering the dragons in our lives, the inner as well as the outer dragons. Michael rules the solar plexus, the self-identity that is guiding your choices, who you are, what you are. This is me, and that's where I'm making these choices. And Michael rules that struggle of identity, and to help you to align your identity with your soul's purpose. We need identities. We Maslow's law of hierarchy. We need to know who we are. We need a place of departure. And with that place of departure, wouldn't it be nice if it was aligned and on the same page with your soul's purpose? And Michael helps you to become aware when your identity is no longer aligned with your soul. That's the dragon that Michael helps fight. And sometimes we need to be brave, very brave to do that. And he comes in with his shield and his sword, and allegorically as well as real. Michael also picks up and clears and removes old energies and disincarnate beings that hold old beliefs and pain in place. Michael's job is to collect them. And as we ask them to be removed, he removes them. I call them energetic contraptions. They can come in. Earlier, I talked about soul contract, where a bunch of memos were stapled to my contract. That's an energetic contraptions. A ball and chain can be an energetic contraptions. They come when we enter into our journey to do our soul contracts. You may see things that they're not literal, but they're symbolic, and they sure do tell you a good story. And then we want to talk a little bit about disincarnate beings, which are thought forms that have taken on a life of their own. And these thought forms are defending themselves now. No, this is how it goes. This is, if I'm going to survive, this belief has to keep on keeping on. And so this thought form, since it becomes a belief system, so it has a mind of its own, it becomes a disincarnate being that is out of balance, and that's guiding you and influencing you in an inappropriate way. And Michael is in charge of collecting them and removing them. I often see him as with this golden net that's magnetic, and it collects all the energies that are not working for you as you give him these energies, and he clears them right out. So now you're free to do more aware thinking and more aware choices and move forward. And the energies aren't sabotaging you to go back to the old ways of the old contracts. When Michael removes these energies, we always say, I want to get rid of it, just burn it up, just destroy it. What he does is, since energy never quite goes away, energy needs to transform. So he into something else. So Michael brings these energies to the heavenly realm of balance, and they become balanced thought forms and energetic forms that are now in better service, that align to the life force energy that flows around us. When we disown something, and we don't call in Michael, or we don't clear it, this energy returns back to the earth and to all of the loved ones around us, and just wreaks havoc. Or it goes back to the earth to compost, and then someday somebody's walking along and they trip over that energy and just absorb it into themselves, and oops, we have a problem, because the energy has not been transformed. It still exists somewhere. And since the universe abhors a vacuum, and we clear something out, we're going to throw it out, but we haven't filled it with anything, whoosh, in comes an old thought form, or in comes a disincarnate being to say, hey, you know what, I can help you. And it's a problem. So these are all mindset things. These are all not meant to say, oh, you're a victim and you're very fragile. That's not true. It's just a matter of how you take responsibility for yourself, how you're aware of yourself, and how you respond to how you're feeling. Like, I'm not feeling so good here. This is, and then there you are going back to, we need to do some clearing. We need to do some soul contract work, where we want to give Archangel Michael these energetic things, let him take them and bring them into balance, so they're not repeating back on us. So getting the messages right, seeing what's really in front of you, understanding what's written in your contract. Archangel Gabriel, the messenger of God, carries a big torch. I feel like I have a big, huge flashlight. I ask him, I can't read this contract. I cannot see what's going on. I can feel it, but it just is not anywhere near something that I can do something about. And Archangel Gabriel could come and just shine a light on it, make it clear. And the images and the allegories, the symbolism can start to make sense in a way of like, oh, I get where I am with that. I get with how that's working in my life. Thank you for showing me that. She will illuminate what you're actually agreeing to. And it's usually not what you think you're agreeing to. So many times we agree to things in our lives and we think, this is it, I got it. I had the worst thing happen today. I was so annoyed. I pay my electric bill every year. And, and I'm caught up and all that stuff. And all of a sudden I get this letter that says my service is getting shut off. It's been cut off. And I didn't understand what the letter was. So after an hour and a half, I finally got through to the electric company and I said, what is going on? And they said, well, you have a third party energy provider that you never agreed to. And your town agreed to it for you. And it is now going defunct. And they're going to put another third party energy company in place. So your energy company is not really your energy company. And I said, well, that is such a good example from agreeing to something that I didn't know what I was agreeing to. I never agreed to have a third party energy aggregate is what they called it. But it was causing a problem because they were now defunct and not serving the area, which is my power was not going to get shut off. But they wrote me a letter and said that it was. So that is a good example of a soul contract that's actually working in your field of energy, and you have no idea what it is. You just like, I'm right. I agreed to have my electricity in my house, and I pay the bill, and I wasn't paying who I thought I was. So that's a good mess. So Gabrielle came in with the flashlight and said, is this what you want to do? There's lots. Now, I'm not saying that a supplemental electrical company is wrong or right. I'm just saying it wasn't working in my case. And so Archangel Gabriel shone the light and helped me find somebody who explained what on earth was going on. And no, my power is not going to get shut off on November 22nd. I will be fine. And but this is a kind of a allegorical example of what happens in the backgrounds of our lives. Lots of times where we have been, mom said something or dad said something or great Aunt Nellie decided that this is how things are, and everyone just does everyone just goes along with it. Like the story of this woman who it's my favorite story. It didn't happen to me. I just heard it. This woman had this pot and she would cook roast on Sunday, and she would cut one end off of each ends of the roast and put it in the pot. And this is the best pot roast ever. The kids were always coming back to her, what's the recipe? I want to make that pot roast for my kids now. And she would give them the recipe, and they'd always cut the ends off the pot roast. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And so finally somebody said, Ma, why do you cut the ends of the pot roast off? She says, because the pot's too small. I have to fit the roast in. And for some reason, she cut off both ends. And people went, oh, cutting the ends of the roast had nothing to do with making good pot roast. So how many things do we have in our lives that we feel we must do that have nothing to do with the end product of where we're going, but they're costing us a lot of resources. They're costing us a lot of time and feelings. Big emotions are around them. And this is where soul contract work comes in. So Archangel Gabriel will help you clarify what it is you're actually agreeing to, what you really need to do, and what is just kind of not so much connected at all. So I call in Archangel Gabriel often when I do not know what is going on. And I know that I'm compelled to do this, whatever it is, and it's chaotic. So Archangel Gabriel, very helpful on that. Another really important angel is Archangel Zadkiel. He's known as the benevolence of God. Zadkiel, along with Ratziel, Zadkiel gives a lot of gifts to humanity, and he created and gave to Saint Germain the violet light. He entrusted Saint Germain the violet flame of the alchemical energetic clearing that focuses on personal feeling, psychological freedom. Imagine that transform, and he helps the transformation process by teaching forgiveness, justice, and balance. So this violet flame um, is a very important aspect of clearing soul contracts. It's the violet flame that comes in and helps to really bring into balance the spirit of the person who is clearing that soul contract, and he brings into balance the soul if that's needed. Archangel Zadkiel listens and guards the cries and the prayers that come straight from your heart. Archangel Zadkiel hears them, understands them, knows them, and he will uh, tell you to use this violet flame to clear your heart's energies and transform your life. A great way to do house clearing is to use that violet flame. Saint Germain and the violet flame. Set it. It's a prayer. You could set it up with candles or sage or something to clear a house. Put it in the middle of the heart of the house, which is usually the kitchen, and then call in this. I call in the tornado of violet flame that just gently runs through the house to clear each room. And then I will take a fan and move this energy through, into closets and walls and corners and around windows. Sometimes you want to crack open those windows and just let that energy fly, leave, because it's got to go. But the violet flame is also transmutational energy. So you can bring that in energy into the violet flame. And when you're transforming something that needs deep, deep transformation, you can imagine that there is a violet flame, a fire right in front of you, and you just take your heart and pour it into that flame. And as you pray and feel and let that violet flame embrace all of your pains, they will transform over time. They will actually, right in that same moment, they're going to transform. They're going to ask you for something in return, which is how bringing yourself into balance. And what is the justice of the situation? What is the balance of the situation? And you'll commit to the change. And it's usually very deep and very transformational. I love the heavy lifting Archangel Zadkiel does when as you clear your soul's misaligned contracts. This angel does a lot of heavy lifting, does a lot of clearing, because sometimes these soul contracts, they're very heavy. They can be surprisingly painful as we go through. Some of them are lighthearted and beautiful, and yeah, no, I get it. And others are like, holy cow, this is gonna take a bit for me to wrap my head around this. But Archangel Zadkiel, when there is something in your life that needs huge transformation. Archangel Uriel as well. We'll get to him, her in a minute. Angels are neither masculine or feminine, but we're human. I just he, she. So call in Zadkiel, Archangel Zadkiel, when there is some really big, heavy lifting to be done, grief, depression, sadness, and call in that violet flame and ask for the help of Saint Germain to help you move through it. And that is a form of changing your soul contract. Our soul has a template for our body. We're going to, and our template is created energetically from our soul, and as it's energetically created, it starts with the lifeline, the higher line, and then the chakras come around it, and then the intent and the dreams of our lives is impacted in it, and kind of set up in the different chakras. And as we live, this template can just get banged up, twisted up, kind of messed up. And Archangel Raphael and Sacred Mother Mary team up to clear your old template, either fix it or bring in your soul template, your higher level soul template back into your physical awareness. Sometimes even better than it was designed to, because now you've learned these lessons and you've overcome them, and you don't need to have that part of the template. Maybe you're coming to bring in something else, and this new template, this energetic template that's coming into yourself, into your body, will support the changes, that the transformation that you're stepping into. If we had the same old old set of tires that can't stick to the road very well. We may fall into the same rabbit holes, the same problems, but coming in clear when we do contract work with me and we clear your sacred contracts, one of the last steps is Archangel Raphael and Sacred Mother Mary come in to reteach you and bring that new soul template into energetically into your physical body so that you have a new resource, a new place of reference instead of always referring to the old place. That's very, very important. It would as you become aware and begin your journey back to wholeness, this team of Raphael and Mother Mary will help you co-create your healing capacity within you. It's a very powerful step. Once you've cleared, again, the universe abhors a vacuum. And if we don't bring something back in, once we've cleared something, who knows what's going to show up. So they very gently fill your body. There's no vacuum. There's no emptiness. Now it's gone. Now what I would do? Now it's gone. And now the purpose of your soul becomes more and more clear. So please understand this is a very, very important aspect of clearing a soul contract. I use a lot of different angel books. A lot of people ask me, so what do you use in your angel books? And there are a bunch of angel books. There's actually a whole encyclopedia of angel books. My book, Divine Love Affair and Akashic Journey, has a chapter on angels that describes each one of these angels very briefly, but and their purpose. And then in that angel section, and then when we go to the soul contract clearing, you'll see the roles that these angels play in clearing your soul contract. If you ever want to know about a specific angel, Google them. It's like there are amazing angel teachers on YouTube that give some really strong, powerful information about even more than what I'm saying about these angels. And the Kabbalah, study of the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, talks a lot about the angels and their properties as well. And if you could get there's many books out there. I couldn't recommend one in particular, but there are tremendous amount of information on them. The next angel is Archangel Uriel. Uriel is the minister of heaven. Uriel is the one that comes in and says, it's time to repent what you've done. It's time to take accountability. It's time to make the deep transformation. He hears and answers prayers. And as he comes in and answers these prayers, he's asking you to take responsibility for what is happening to you, not to blame yourself, not to be guilty, but to say, oh, I did step in that, didn't I? And I don't have to step in that anymore. It's, for instance, in a family relationship, I often hear people say, and they're so mean and they do this and they took all my grandfather's money and I have nothing now. And I keep talking to them, and Archangel Uriel will come in and say, we stop talking to them. Stop interacting, because they're not going to change, and you're constantly in pain. And so your accountability part will be to say, I'm still trying to fix this. And your accountability would say, okay, now I'm going to take this, put it in the hands of God, maybe call a lawyer, and do actions that will help my well-being, as opposed to precipitating and causing this drama to continue and continue and continue. So he calls for repentance, and he brings inspiration and tranquility while people are in deep transformations. Do you ever have to go through something really big change in your life and you're just totally freaked out and it's totally oppressive and it's totally like, how am I going to get into this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to stay the course and make this change? And then calmness come over you and you're committed to it and you've signed up to it, so you're tranquil and you're at peace. That's Archangel Uriel helping you say, okay, let's accept it, let's do it, let's go, and you're going to be okay. Archangel Uriel works with the crown, heart, and throat chakras. I said Archangel Michael will work with that solar plexus, that identity, where Archangel Uriel will work with your divinity, your crown, becoming sovereign, and really bringing it into your heart, so that your heart is aligned with this, and then with your throat, so that you're expressing it, you're living it. That refers a little bit back to Archangel Zadkiel, who that a little bit does that work too. So you can walk your talk kind of thing. And our hearts are the ones that lead our minds. Our hearts program our minds. So once your heart is opened up to that wisdom, then it feeds your mind and your thoughts. Remember, thoughts precede reality. Well, your heart is now asking your mind to go a different path, think a different thought, and you're creating a different reality for yourself. So thank you, Archangel Uriel, for that help. Archangel is considered to be an angel of wisdom. All the angels are full of wisdom, and he shines the light of God's truth to those who seek information, solutions, or I just need wisdom around this, and he will deliver that. Um, he is commonly portrayed carrying a book or a scroll, and that symbolizes wisdom. So if you need to make a transformation, or if you're really not quite sure, one angel to pray to over this, for instance, the struggle between Israel, Palestine, and Hamas, an angel to pray to would be Archangel Uriel. Let's bring wisdom around this. Let's find the balance in here. Let's find the right action to take in here, because sometimes we don't know what that could possibly be. We see the picture and it's just so mind-boggling, and we say, well, it's got to be this. Well, no, it can't be that. Well, it's got to be this. Well, no, that's not quite right. We need an angel to come in. And Archangel Uriel is the light of God. He's also the fire of God, where he's gonna do, stuff's gonna happen when you call on Archangel Uriel. And so the colors associated with this archangel are amber yellow, ruby red, purple, orange, and pale yellow. Great colors, and they're colors of the sunset, which in my sense, Archangel Uriel is in the west, which is the place of transformation. It's the place of fall, going into winter. It's the place of deep changing and within the shadow work. And so this is a very powerful angel that that I recommend everybody align themselves with this angel. And Uriel is very much part of, and I call on him in part of the team in clearing your soul contracts, is to find that wisdom. Many times we're talking ourselves into a belief. It's, the worst things that we can believe in our lives is our own lies that we tell ourselves. My dad would say that all the time. And Uriel will really work that end of it as you do this soul contract clearing. And one contract clearing can lead to another contract clearing and can lead to another contract clearing. So don't think you're just going to one and done. This is work that you'll do over the course of a lifetime, and that's okay. Think of yourself as not only bringing yourself into a higher vibrational level, but you're also transforming energy that you're not leaving behind you in your life that somebody else can trip over. You're clearing it up for 7 generations going forward, and you're clearing it up for 7 generations behind you. So the work that you're doing now, it's not insignificant. It's huge. It's really important. And that's why the angels are so on board with us doing this work, because this is ascension work. And the angels want us to ascend. That's their love, and that's their support, and that's their dream for us. Remember, you heard it here. So Archangel Azrael, I love this angel. This angel is Dot. It's hidden on it's the hidden nodule on the tree of life. It's behind everything. And Archangel Azrael is the angel of death and reincarnation. He regulates your soul's development throughout lifetimes. I work with him in my mediumship work as he presides over the process of death and transition to spirit. And oftentimes, as a medium, I'm proving the continuity of life after the change called death. And it's Archangel Azrael that stands right behind me as I do the work. And he's not standing behind me with a Sith either. It's a very loving, caring presence that wants us to understand of the power of spirit, and that the power of our lives as we live them in human form is just as powerful as the life that we will continue to go on to live in spirit form. With Archangel Azrael, I feel the energy of rebalancing with him as we bring balance to our lives when we were in human form and when we were in spirit form. So during that transition, he works with the balance. She, sometimes I see it as Azrael as a beautiful woman, will work with that transition, will help with that. How do I balance this out? How do I go forward with this? Excellent. And so excellent, powerful energy. So doing soul contracts work, doing this work in our lives, it's kind of like little deaths. It's like I've left a concept behind. I've left how I'm living behind, and I'm stepping into a more spiritual, more soul aligned work. And Azrael can help with that because those are like deaths. When we lose somebody and we're deeply grieving in our lives, and death is a huge life lesson to all of us who what we're doing is when we're grieving, when we lose somebody that's very precious to us and we grieve deeply, we're beginning to understand the true process and the true meaning of life, which is beginning, middle, end. And as we end and we're going home, it's a very beautiful process, but we can get caught up in that grief. It's perfectly normal, it's human, but we forget the promise at the end of it, which is we're going home and we are going to be in the arms of source, of God, of this love. And Azrael can help you remember that. As Azrael has the power to end life, separating the soul from the body and transitioning the soul into the afterlife, he also has a group of angels that help him, her do it. And this transition is full of compassion, and it also the compassion residuates or out to all those who love that person who's now transitioning and leaving. You can ask Azrael for comfort and for strength and grace as you go through your grief, because you are also transitioning. If you help people who are healing from grief, you can call on Azrael to work with you and to protect your energy so that you don't absorb other people's emotions. And it's important to note that Azrael doesn't just help with the final transition. Again, she helps with many transitions. And as I said before, I work with her in my mediumship work, especially when I'm working with people who are in deep grief. And I reach out and I said, can you help me say something or come to some kind of wisdom place with this person so they can, so this interaction as a medium will help them find comfort from their huge loss. So Archangel Ratziel is, I mentioned this angel earlier. Ratziel brought the humanity the book of life. Ratziel is known as the deliverer of the Akashic records. Ratziel helped mankind from the myth of Adam and Eve when they were thrown out of heaven and the beautiful garden and had to go it on their own. It's a myth. It's a myth that says so much about humanity. But Ratziel, as humanity began to wake up unto itself, Ratziel was there, and why don't you read this? And did you ever think of this? And why don't you try this? I love this Good Omens. It's a TV, it's a book. They made it into a little series, serial show. I think it's on Netflix. And Ratziel, in the beginning, Ratziel was this angel that brought the book of life out to Adam and Eve and got into a lot of trouble for it. And Ratziel in this fictional thing just kind of keeps going to help humanity until all of a sudden he's a demon, which is hilarious because he never was a demon. And it's just, that's fiction. But Ratziel is willing and very careful to teach humanity, teach those who want to learn what the true meaning of life is, what the Akashic records, what's in the book of life. And I feel that there's a lot to learn from Ratziel. So if you're feeling like, how does this work? What's going on here? And how can I make this? And why doesn't my applesauce? Or how do I make this pie? Or how can I bring a healing element to my friend Archangel Raphael will come through, and Ratziel will also come through with some tips and tricks from the Book of Life. And Ratziel, I feel, can bring in a layer of creativity and experimentation on a healthy way that will, once you've cleared your contracts and now where do I go? Ratziel can say, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we try this? And what a good buddy that this angel can be. I talked a lot to you about the angels of the soul contract work and the angels of the Akashic records, and I'm really excited to share this with you. And I hope that this makes sense to you. And as an Akashic practitioner / shaman, I do this soul contract work quite regularly with my clients. And if you want to know more about it, you can set up a session with me. Go to angelscapes.net, and you can click on discovery session if you want to talk to me about how does this work, how long does it take, what do I need to do to be prepared for it, here's where I am in my life. And I can do sometimes it takes a couple of readings, like an assessment reading. Let's find out where you are, let's kind of dig in a little bit, and then we can go into what do you want to build. And then the next session would be open up and deeper into what needs to be cleared and begin to clear it, and what needs to be built. And when you do your soul contract clearing, you come to it with two ideas, well, maybe a whole bunch of ideas. But remember what I talked about, you need to know what you want to experience instead of what you're experiencing now. We need to identify that as part of the process. So once the contracts are cleared and your records are cleared, you want to build, here's what I want to experience instead. And that's a really important piece. We need to give enough time in our sessions to do that, to build what's next, and to give you some plans of action, because the universe pours a vacuum and they're just going to fill it right up. And we don't want you to leave without being filled with joy, grace, and that creative expansion to go on to your life and have a good life. So this was a great talk. I loved bringing this information to you. The angels are very, very powerful. Call on them one at a time, get to know these angels. Michael is my favorite, first one to ever get to know it, and then know him and know his power and his strength. And Michael's in my life has given me a tremendous amount of courage to move forward and do things that I was too chicken to do. But I had Archangel Michael with me by my side, and I really felt it. I really felt it. So call on these angels one at a time so you can feel them individually. Metatron, very powerful. Sandalphon, however you say his name, I will hopefully someday say it right. Calling on those angels so that you could feel the presence of God moving towards you and understanding it, and you could feel your prayers going up and feel the response of Source to you. Raphael, Sacred Mother Mary, really worth connecting to. Who else did we talk about? Uriel, Zadkiel, Ratziel, Gabriel. Don't forget about Gabriel. If you're not quite clear what's going on, Gabriel, can you come in and show me the way? Light up the truth here. And there's so many more. Azrael, Ratziel. So, and then Violet Flame. All of these are important, I feel, for you to take a quiet moment one at a time and breathe them into your life and feel them, meditate on them. If you can't sit still and meditate, walk in the nature and ask them to show you their presence and what do they feel like when they're close by. And then sometimes, once you feel them and you know what they feel like and what their texture is, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's Michael with me, or that's Metatron or Ratziel. Oh, Gabrielle just showed me what to do. Thank you so much. Gratitude works really well with angels. Gratitude and open-heartedness, really important in connecting to the angels, but the willingness to ask for help and the willingness to receive help are really important with these angels, and watch the miracles happen in your life. So that's it for this session. And I'm sure I'll have more about angels as we move along, because they're my loves. And feel free to contact me. We could do a soul clearing with the angels, and I would love to help you. So for now, I want you to stay safe, pray to your angels, bring love all the way around you, and know that you can live a very fulfilling, happy life with the help of your angels, starting with your guardian angel.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.